Our last speaker is Noella Muhamiriza. You have been involved in peace building programs since a very early age. You have been appointed as a Girl Ambassador for Peace by the Global Network of Women Peacebuilders. Could you tell us how you think the participation of women and girls in peace processes and state building efforts can change outcomes? This is one of the main findings of our report. So we documented this perception, but I'm sure that you can share some specific examples from DRC.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me. As a young person, I love the idea that we are called the future, but when we are not involved in the decision making, then I don't know who you are designing the future for. So thank you so much, and that question is I love the question because in DRC, the majority are actually women. So if we are actually going to resolve conflicts and bringing peace, then we have to involve the majority. First of all, it can be very tricky when it comes to countries like DRC, in which I come from, because family tends to be above the law. For example, recently, there was this 16 years old who got stabbed by her uncle 3 times in her heart, and she died. And things like that are not spoken about because they assume that family is going to resolve that matter, that issue. It doesn't go out. So it can be very hard when we have policies that come from the Western countries or organizations to actually really reach the deep root of the issues, because they don't speak the language, not necessarily the language, but they don't know how to communicate with the locals because they don't understand them. So I believe that women, because we are the ones who face those issues and we are the majority, I believe that we have a higher and a bigger role to play. What I was suggesting was empowering women through education. I grew up seeing so many programs, and I'm part of Girl Ambassadors, which is amazing because we get to work with local people, and we get to speak on behalf of our own people. So it's more powerful than hearing somebody from another organization or from a Western country to coming and sharing what they think about the issue. It's easier when a local actually speaks because it's more reliable, and it's easy to relate to what's happening in the community. So my suggestion really as a young person is to implement things like gender equality in schools. We have so many conferences and forum about gender equality throughout my country or even in Africa, but it's funny because, not even funny, it's very interesting because you learn that in a forum or a conference, but once you come back home, you have brothers who look down on you, or you have a husband who doesn't really respect you. He thinks that doesn't concern him, it's an option. So I believe we should actually implement gender equality in studies, starting in elementary school. Then men and women won't have an option, but all to learn the power or the importance of respecting each other. And I know there are already so many programs that actually target that issue, but if it's not in school, then men feel like they don't have to attend. They don't feel like they have a responsibility over there. So I think it's very important that we implement that in studies. So I don't know how that can work, because we have to work with the government to talk about how to actually implement the studies. I know they modified the CV of schools. I remember when I was I think I was in elementary school, we started learning about sexuality. It was really new, but the government thought it was very important that we learn about us. And it was very successful because people are aware, they know. And kids bring that at home, they discuss that, and they watch what their fathers or mothers are, the way they treat each other. So I think it's very important that we actually implement that. It's not even, to me, it's not optional. If I had the choice, I would actually implement that, because then men learn that it's not an option to attend a conference talking about women equality. It's actually a class that they have to take. And another thing is, everybody is really busy empowering women, but nobody's preparing men about those women. So we have women who are empowered, but they go back home and men have no idea. All they think about is like that woman is a threat, you know? Because our society is based on like the man is the you know, the leader of the household and everything. So when a woman is empowered, to them, it communicates that that woman is trying to take the power from me. So I don't know how people think that men are empowered, especially coming from a country like the Congo where we have had wars for many years. Men are very vulnerable as well, because I think people might confuse power with being aggressive. So if we are empowering women, we should actually think about where are they going back to, and to who, what kind of men are they going back to. So that's one of my suggestions. And also I was thinking about long-term funds, because we have so many programs. We have new programs, new NGOs every year in the Congo, but it's not very long-term and it's not very sustainable. People implement something, and when it doesn't work, they move to the next thing. So I think there should be funding to the local people already doing something, and even women who are already working so much in the community, because those women become so vulnerable, because no one else, because the society is driven by men power, they think that the kind of woman who's very empowered is a threat, and it put them in a very vulnerable place. Like me being here talking like that, very vocal about issue, it can seem beautiful to the Western world, but when I go back to my community, I become very vulnerable, because everybody's like, she's trying to be a man, or she's trying to take our place, or she's very vocal, she's too strong in a sense, or too much. So I think it's very good that we found local organization by women who are trying to actually make a difference, and celebrate the achievement of what they're doing. Yeah, thank you.